waiting to see the heads go. Just coming up front. Who's coming up front? Well, good morning. What's in the bulletin? Nope, that's not what we're doing this morning. So just FYI, so if you're all excited for that, as I know Mike was all ready to read from Mark, he was all ready for it, and I said, we're not reading that this morning, Mike. So anyhow, well, good morning again, and so this morning, if this goes south, it's Patty Jennings' fault. So the complaint department goes to her because a few weeks ago, Patty came up to me and said something about, we should do something out of Romans 12. I said, okay, we can, put that in the back burner. And then Jeff, last week said on a Sunday night, we are going to be talking and going through Romans. And I said, Patty, see there, it's taken care of for you. We're going to be going through Romans. It'll be all done. Well, I'm going to stomp on Jeff's toes a little bit, and on his lessons, and get him before he does and give a little precursor to it. So when Jeff asked me to preach this morning, I had that in the back of my mind, so I went right to Romans 12. And really, it is a pretty straightforward chapter, and it's a good read, and we're only going to do part of it this morning in that. But what we're going to talk about here in Romans 12 is supporting the body, because that's the section in verses 3 through 8, that's what it talks about. It talks about the body and the many parts of the body, and I know this is something we've heard multiple times, but it's always something great to revisit, because, we're all important parts of the body, and we got to find our role, and we got to continue. And, I can sit up here and talk, and I know if I was sitting there, in college and that, people would talk, and I'd write notes, and I'd remember some of it and that. But then what really hit home to me is then when they actually had something in front of them, when they actually did something, and I could see it, tactile, visualize it, feel it, and that's what I really learned. So in the end, we're going to give that a shot. Again, we're going to give it a shot. If anything goes south. Yes. So, all right, so we're going to start with the reading, and then we'll get going.
A lot of shooting going on here. Okay, Romans 12, 3 through 8. For by the grace of God given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. It is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully.
All right, thank you, Mike. All right, so we're just going to go verse by verse here. All right, when I was going through it, I said this is going to be the best way to break this down. Okay, so verse 3, I called this the don'ts. What should you not do? Don't think highly of yourself. And I'm just kind of going to go through the slide, and then we'll kind of ball it all up together and go through it. So use sober judgment in according to what God has given you. All gifts come from God. Now, wait a minute. Okay, verse 3. We're gonna slow this down now. But rather think of yourself with sober judgment in accordance with the measure of faith God has given you. Does God play favorites? Wait a minute. I thought faith is something we develop in that. God gives faith. Is he only given and says, well, I'll admit, I made a phone call to Jeff about this because I was like, am I thinking about this the right way? And, he didn't look at somebody and say, oh, I did good with you. You get a lot of faith. Yeah, of course, you're perfect. God doesn't make mistakes, but not so much. No, it doesn't happen that way. We are all given gifts. We all have some ability. We all have, as we'll get in later, we all have ability, something to do here in the church body to expand the church and to grow in our own Christian walk. We have something. As bad as it may seem, I'm worthless, I can't do anything. You have something. There is something down in there. And when we get through these, some of these things that we can do, some of these spiritual gifts that have been given to some of us are pretty simple to do, and some of us just have better personalities to do it than others. So we need to exercise our gifts. And when we exercise those gifts, we need to grow. Notice, big word I underlined there, capitalized. Who? We. It's just not going to be zap, you got it, you're going to be great, and we need to do it. That is our responsibility because, somebody gives you a car. Oh man, what a wonderful gift. It is a, hot rod sports car. I've always thought the Dodge Super Bee was something, it's a lot of money, of course, too, but if somebody said, Josh, here's this Dodge Super Bee, you can go out, or a Challenge or something like that. Yeah, I'm a Mopar guy. But anyhow, and said, all right, there you go. And I'm just going to sit there and not touch it, not drive it, no, of course not. I'm going to get in that thing and, probably get scared when I first hit the accelerator and it takes off from underneath me. But, we're going to do something with it. We got to do something with the gifts we've been given. And so verse 3 is telling us, do something with those gifts. But if somebody has been given a gift, if you've been given a gift that, somebody else may not necessarily have quite as strongly, don't flaunt it. Don't use sober judgment, and don't think highly of yourself. Well, I can do this, and you only do this, and so, I'm a lot more important. No, don't make yourself feel that way. Don't do that, and don't make others feel that way, because then you're abusing your gift that God has given you. Remember, God has given you all these gifts, and by exercising and growing in these gifts, then faith grows as well. And then we get that faith, and that is what in verse 3 it is meaning then. All right? So, don't do that when we get these gifts, okay? So, now, before we get into the gifts, verses 4 and 5, the body consists of. Okay, are we all the same? Every single one of us, we just have the same personality, we have the same likes, we have, how many of you eat salad? Raise your hand. Salad is disgusting. So, right, yeah, thank you. That is not food. That is what food eats. Okay? Just FYI. All right, so right there, we aren't the same. You're not the same as me. I don't like salad. All right? We are all different. Just the same way, everybody has the same talents and the same different talents, and everybody doesn't do the same thing. We all have different ways to do things. So what is the body? Okay, if I'm not, I thought about putting pictures up, but I didn't know if that would gross anybody out. But if there was just a leg laying up here, is that a body? It's not not quite. If there's an arm laying up here, is it a body? No, it's part of a body. All right? It is not. Okay, so these things make up and belong to the body. Okay? All these things make up and belong to the body, because if you hurt your finger, the rest of you knows it, right? Of course it does. So they all belong to the body, just as we belong to Christ, as we belong to our church body. So if that leg was just laying up here, that arm was just laying up here, can it survive on its own? No. I know there's that new... Some of these animated movies I see previews for getting a little odd, I think. But there's this movie coming out, Onward or something, where it's just the half of Dad is back, and they got to go find the top half of Dad. No, it doesn't quite work that way. But so, that can happen, all right? And when a part is missing or lacking, other parts feel the pain. I never thought about it, and I'm not making lightly of it, but you're going to think I watched a lot of TV. I really don't. But anyhow, there's a commercial about, it shows you what channels we watch, because we see, with all due respect, we see a lot of ads for prescriptions and things like that. I'm not going to say what age group that would be, but we see quite a bit of that. And one of them, though, unfortunately, is for a prescription for somebody that is blind. And I never thought about it, but their timetable's all out of whack, and it shows him sitting at a bus stop in the middle of the night. Because, time, and seeing light and day and that, okay. The rest of the body feels that effect, though. Okay, from, if the eyes aren't working, can't see, stumbling around, stub a toe, the rest of the body feels effects of that. So individuals are the parts, so we equal the body. All of us together equal the body, so we have to work together. As this says here in the scripture, we need to work together. We make up that body, so we need to remember that. And if we are given a talent, if we are given, something we can do, and maybe we're just dropping the ball in that, the body is still going to survive. If we break a toe or we break a finger, the body is still going to function, but it isn't going to function quite as well. So we need to be sure that we get back to our par and beginning to, do the things that we can do to support the body, because the rest of us feel it. All right, so then in verse 6, we start getting into the gifts, these spiritual gifts that God gives us and gives others in that as well. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing that I'm not even looking at my notes. Okay, so begins the list of gifts. Okay, once again, what we start. We're going to, in verse 6, it starts off here, again saying, we have different gifts according to the grace given us. So once again saying, according to what God has given us. Now, I get going on tangents. I want to stomp on another point I got. But we don't want to. We don't want to have something and we're like, well, I can. We gradually want to do things. We want to work in, because if we right away throw somebody at, well, you don't mind public speaking, you're preaching Sunday morning, and they get up there and they get scared. That put more backtracking on somebody than you're ever going to, push them forward in that. And we, as ourselves, need to realize that, too. We don't want to push ourselves and hurt ourselves. Now, we don't want to become complacent, though. I'm not saying that we need, I'm just not comfortable. Well, we need to step out of our comfort zone every once in a while and continue to grow and push forward. God knows us. So He gave you that gift. He gave you that talent for a reason. He knows us. So, prophesying. Can we prophesy? Yes, and I also put no there, because we don't prophesy the way it was back in, apostles and prophesy the future and that, as they did. But we can prophesy in the way, who is coming again? Jesus is coming again. We know that without a fact. We can tell that to everybody and say, Jesus is coming again, and that is us prophesying. We spread the word. We prophesy by what has been given to us in the word and tell others. So then we preach the word and we spread it, and that is how we can prophesy. And we all can do that. We all can read this. We all can go out and prophesy and say what is coming. Jesus is coming again. But another warning, only to the ability we have been given. Don't be boastful. So when you're out prophesying, Jesus is coming again, well, I've already been saved, so you better, because, you want to be like me and be, all, and not like you are. You don't want to be boastful, and you don't want to be arrogant in that way. This is a gift that we need to share, and that we need to share in a way that brings other and attracts others to our church and to Jesus because of this second coming. All right. In verses 7 and 8, the list of gifts goes on. All right, with service. Jesus came to serve. So don't we want to mimic Jesus? Don't we want to do as Jesus did? That's the life that we want to live. And to me, this is a very broad gift and easy to obtain. I'm saying as something as easy as opening the door for somebody is service to me. And gradually work up. Just any little thing, I wrote a list down here too. Worship, service and worship anyway, pass and play, do whatever. Preparing communion, anything, printing bulletins, working on the pews, anything like that. Fellowship, organizing fellowships, bringing us together. We had a great one last night. I enjoy it. You play games in that, and that game about remember when. It makes me always feel better because I feel younger. No offense, guys, but it does. Fun doing stuff like that. Making meals, just general acts of kindness. It's things like that we can do service-wise. We all have an opportunity to do that. It's a very broad area, and we can all do it pretty easily. We just got to look for it. Again, we've been given that talent. Now we got to look for how we can use it. All right, teaching. Jesus came to teach. Obviously, he was teaching the Word and his disciples and everything. All right, how can we teach? Do we have to be standing up here to teach? Do we have to be leading a Sunday school class to teach? Do we have to be leading a Wednesday or a Sunday class? Of course not. No. We can be teaching just by our actions out in the world. We can be teaching little ones. We can, just a simple little something every once in a while, just continue to grow and gradually introduce and teach. We can all do this, and we all have to be aware of that so that we can teach, because those little teaching moments grow individuals, grow their gifts, which grow the body, which is the church. So, if you're blessed in that way, use the gift. Don't just let it sit there. Use that gift. Encouragement. Jesus encouraged many. He had encouraging words now. Granted, he brought some down to reality too, but he was encouraging, okay? And how can we encourage everybody? Cards, pats on the back, phone calls, anything like that to encourage each other. All of us have a cell phone in our pocket, probably, except me and Allison, who left them places. And we can easily call somebody, shoot them a text real quick. Things are so easy. Just encourage, hey, been thinking about you, been missing you, hope to see you back in. Hey, how did things go with surgery, or how did things go with your trip? Hope, everything's going well. And just, be that encouragement. And we can do that in church and in life. It doesn't just it doesn't stay just with our church members, We need to outreach, because then it shows our Christian lifestyle of encouragement and kindness, and then that way as well. Giving. Well, a lot of ways to give, right? Now, in the scripture, it does hit on, those, financially and that too, and of course we have to do that. And with all that being said, we need to give, and we need to give what we have. We use our talents and to give back to the church, give back to each other, to look out for each other. Now, if you've been given, you can do something really well as a service act of giving, and you've been given, very well, you have financially, you can support, causes of the church. Should you just say, well, I did all this work, so I don't have to worry about doing anything that way? To me, no. You've been given a way, you've been given another gift, and you need to use both your gifts in all those ways as well. So whatever gifts, way, giving, you need to be able to do that. Give willingly and not in a grumbling way. They'd be like, well, I guess if I did that, I still, like Josh said, I still got to give this way too. No, we can't do it that way, because then we're not giving with the right heart, and it's doing good, but it's not doing good the way to you it should be. So we need to be able to use all and be willing to use our multiple talents. So, me, Josh, pretty short and sweet. That's why I married a Voss girl, short and sweet. But anyhow, so now I threw words. So, that's why you look at notes, ladies and gentlemen, because you got me. You don't. There's more going on. All right, leadership here. Jesus led many. All right. How should we lead? We should be an example. And as we've kind of been hitting on this whole time now, be an example in the world, be an example in the church, and lead. And don't become lazy or complacent, though, or proud of your role. We need to continue to grow, and so that we can lead more and more. And when I say don't become lazy, it goes hand in hand with complacent. I've been doing a pretty good job. I think I can just take it easy. No, we need to continue to lead and show others how to lead then after us. leading has been described in a couple different translations I read. Lead with zeal, govern diligently. So be diligent with your leadership. Don't let it, just, well, I checked in every once in a while. It'll be all right. Continue to check in. And to lead with zeal, be sure of yourself. Be proud, because if you got somebody, well, I don't know if we should do this. What do you guys think? I don't know. No, you need to lead with, be sure of yourself. Pray with God and be sure of how you're going to lead in that. Now, I'm not saying never check in with who you're leading, because their opinion is important as well. Mercy. Jesus shows much mercy. God shows much mercy. I struggle with patience. Yep. You work with cattle enough, you struggle with patience. But I do in general, and we got to put that aside. Now, am I saying patience and mercy are the same thing? No, not exactly, but I think they're pretty closely related. You got to have patience with people, giving them mercy. And because if we just, they messed up, they fell back off, they're back in the world and that, well, we don't have time for this, and no, we need to have mercy, keep checking in on them, keep watching them, and have patience for them to come back. Then when they do come back, be gentle with them and so with them. And we can all have mercy. Now, there are some that can be a lot more gentle, and people that just talk to people easier. And it may not be 100% your gift, as all these have been, but we can all do them in some ways. But again, if we're going to say, well, I'm going to have the gift of mercy, call up, why weren't you here? You need to get back here and that. Well, I'm showing mercy because I care, and I'm giving them a second chance to come back. Well, that's a little bit harsh. You may not be using your mercy gift quite the way that you should be, or as gentle as somebody else should be. So we all need to give it because we all need it. So mercy is another spiritual gift list there that we all can, that we all have, and that we all can give. So we all have been given gifts. So just a couple concluding points. We all must not abuse or push gifts too fast. We all must continue to grow in our gifts, and we all must use our gifts together and support each other. Okay? Main points there. Garrett, somewhere back there, I left it laid back there, and there is a scarf, a black scarf back there, and then would you grab that and come forward then, please? All right. Did you find it? I hope you did. If not, we'll make do. Bingo. All right. Garrett has graciously been told he is going to be my helper up here. So
I don't know what to do with it.
It doesn't help, so don't wear it. No, anyhow. All right. Come down here. Come forward here. All right. Now, I said earlier, it's easier when I see things and when I can feel things, so this is how I learn, so this is how I teach. All right. Garrett, I asked you earlier, how's your balance?
Yeah.
That's perfect. All right. So stand at a good position. Have your leg, so yeah. All right. So now if somebody hit, he's pretty solid, right? Yeah. All right. Put your arms out, too. All right. Now. You may not want to hug me after this. No. All right. So now we're going to take away his sight. Your head's too big. This won't even tie. Never mind. Close your eyes. All right. Close your eyes. Put your hands down by your side. Close your eyes. All right. He moved a little bit more, right? Because he didn't see it coming. All right. Put your arms straight out now. Close your eyes. Pick up a leg.
Oh, no.
I said pick the leg up.
This is hard. Being blind and...
So is he losing parts of the body? He's losing parts of the body, right?
Oh, no.
Right? Thank you. You've been wonderful.
Can I keep this?
Well, it was Julie, so you got to fight her for it. So we know when Vanna White retires who's going to fill in for her. So, anyhow, so that was my quick example. I thought about that and be like, okay, so as Garrett was standing there, he had full function. He had everything, but as you slowly took things away, his body became less stable. As we take away parts of the body, if we don't do our gifts, if we don't help the church in that, we slowly take things away from us and we become unbalanced in that. When everybody's working together, everybody's pulling their weight, and everybody's doing the gifts and that we have been given, the church is strong and firm. So that's the point I want to take away from this morning. If there are any needs this morning, if there's anybody that may need help discovering their gifts or having trouble, just in any way, if there's health concerns or anything, you need prayers of the church, we'd love for it to be said. Last point, support of individuals plus using our gifts equal a strong Christian body. If there are any needs this morning, please come now as we stand and as we sing.